Leo Walker, a human engineer and part-time pilot, pushed through thick blue leaves with sweat dripping down his forehead. His cargo ship had crash-landed 3 hours ago on this unknown alien planet. The navigation system called it Velar 7. He just called it trouble. His communicator was dead. No signal, no backup, no idea if anyone from his crew had survived. His legs hurt from the landing impact, and his left arm was bruised from when the cockpit slammed shut. But Leo had one goal now: stay alive until rescue came. Around him, the jungle pulsed with strange life. The plants shimmered with soft colors. He had heard tales of Velar 7 before, home to a reclusive alien species known as the Velari, rarely seen and never understood. He hoped the stories about them being hostile were exaggerated. He wasn't so lucky. As Leo stepped through a clearing, a low hum echoed behind him. He turned, but too late. Something hit him in the chest like a shockwave. His vision went dark, and he collapsed. When he opened his eyes again, he wasn't in the jungle anymore. He lay on a smooth surface, stone, maybe. The air was cool and smelled like herbs. Strange carvings lined the walls around him, glowing softly. A massive open window showed a sky with 2 suns, one orange and one pale green. He sat up quickly, confused, and froze. She stood near the window, tall, elegant, dressed in layered robes that shimmered like silver water. Her skin was pale with a hint of blue, and her eyes were like pools of violet starlight. Her long hair was tied in metallic bands, and her ears were slightly pointed, shaped like delicate fins. She was staring at him like she'd been waiting forever. "You're awake," she said, her voice calm but firm. "Good." Leo tried to stand. "Where am I? Who are you?" The alien woman didn't answer right away. Instead, she slowly walked over and raised a hand. "You are in Velari territory. I am Commander Soraya." "You are human." Leo blinked. "Yes, I crash-landed. I'm not a threat. I just need a communicator." She didn't let him finish. With a strange device in her hand, she activated a symbol on the wall. A ring, smooth, silver, and engraved with strange symbols, appeared from a hidden compartment. Leo stepped back. "What is that?" "This," she said softly, "is fate." Before he could react, she took his hand. "Hey, wait." The ring slid onto his finger with a click. The metal was warm, too warm. Leo's eyes widened as the ring glowed for a second, then dimmed again. He felt a strange pressure in his chest, like his heart had skipped a beat. What did you do?" he gasped. Soraya's eyes glimmered as she looked at the ring, then at him. "You are mine now, human," she said. "By Velari law, this bond cannot be undone." Leo yanked at the ring, but it wouldn't move. "What do you mean, bond? I didn't agree to anything." Soraya stepped closer. "This ring is no ordinary object. It is a soul link artifact. Ancient, powerful, and selective. It reacts only to chosen beings, those who match the prophecy." Leo stared at her like she'd spoken nonsense. "Prophecy? I'm just a mechanic from Earth." "And yet," she said, pointing to the ring, "it chose you." Leo backed away. "Look, I don't know what game this is, but I'm not part of your story. I just want to go home." Soraya didn't move. "If the ring hadn't responded, we would have sent you back. But now, everything has changed." Before Leo could argue further, a door behind her opened, and several armored aliens entered the room. They looked similar to Soraya, tall, graceful, and armed. Their expressions were mixed, some curious, others clearly not happy. One of them whispered to Soraya, but Leo couldn't understand the language. Soraya nodded and waved them away. Then she turned back to Leo. "You are safe here. For now. I will explain everything. But you must understand, your presence has just altered the course of our future." Leo sat down, stunned. In less than 1 day, He had crash-landed. Soraya looked at the elder with a grave expression. The enemies we have faced for centuries are returning. Our strength alone will not be enough. The prophecy speaks of a human, a warrior, a protector, who will stand beside us, fighting in the coming war. Leo felt a knot tighten in his stomach. A war. He was a mechanic. He had no training for war. He didn't know the first thing about fighting. We are not asking you to fight, Leo, Soraya added, her voice firm. But the bond between us makes you essential to the survival of our people. The ring has chosen you for a reason. There is power in it, power that will awaken when the time is right. Leo looked at his hand again, the ring shimmering faintly as though it were alive. He didn't know if he could trust these aliens or not, but he had no choice but to go along for now. The elder spoke again, his tone softer. You may not understand yet, but in time, you will. The bond is not just a link between two people, it is the key to saving both of our worlds. Soraya turned to Leo. This is your new reality. You have been chosen, whether you want it or not. The ring has already made its decision. Leo stood there, torn. His mind raced, but there was one thing he couldn't deny. He had no other choice but to move forward. Leo sat in a grand, echoing hall. The floor was made of smooth stone that shimmered under the soft light from overhead crystals. Giant columns rose up to the ceiling, etched with symbols Leo didn't understand. He looked around at the faces of the Velari, the aliens who had somehow made him a part of their world. Soraya stood beside him, her presence commanding but not unkind. Stay calm, she whispered, her voice low enough that only Leo could hear. They're going to crown me, aren't they? Leo said, his voice tight. You're forcing me into some sort of ceremony. Soraya didn't answer immediately, but her eyes softened. This is not something I planned, Leo. The prophecy has placed us together. Now we must face it. The doors to the hall opened, and a procession of armored Velari warriors entered, followed by the high council of their people. They wore elaborate robes, their faces stoic but curious. At the front of the group was an elderly Velari female, her expression filled with authority. She approached Leo and Soraya. Commander Soraya, she said in a commanding tone. The time has come. Leo felt a knot in his stomach. This wasn't what he had imagined. He had crash-landed on an alien planet, hoping to survive and get home. Instead, he was being forced into a ceremony that felt more like a trial than a celebration. Soraya turned to him and placed a hand gently on his shoulder. This is the ceremony of the chosen, she explained. It is an ancient tradition. You will be recognized as my mate, the one who will stand beside me to protect our people. Leo looked at her, still unable to believe what was happening. This is crazy, he muttered. I don't even know you. She nodded, her eyes filled with understanding. I know this is not what you wanted, but the bond cannot be broken. It is already too late. The elder stepped forward, her voice echoing through the hall. By the ancient laws of the Velari, a human has chosen us, just as we have chosen him. This ceremony is a public recognition of that bond. Leo tried to speak but was interrupted by a loud rhythmic drumbeat. The entire hall seemed to vibrate with the sound as two Velari warriors, both clad in shining armor, marched toward him with a ceremonial sword and a wreath made of flowers. They placed the wreath around Leo's neck. He wanted to ask if this was all some sort of joke, but when he saw the solemn expressions on the Velari faces, he realized it was no laughing matter. This was real. The elder held her arms out wide. As per tradition, the bond between you both will be sealed before the Velari Council. Your union is now official. Leo's heart raced as he realized the weight of what was happening. He was being publicly declared part of this alien world. Whether he liked it or not, there was no turning back. He had to accept this new reality. Soraya stepped forward and placed a hand on his chest, just over the ring. She spoke in a language Leo didn't understand, but the energy in the room shifted. The glow of the ring on his finger intensified for a moment, and Leo felt a strange warmth spread through his body, as if the bond was truly alive. The elder smiled and nodded approvingly. The bond is now sealed. You, Leo Walker, are now a Velari warrior, bonded to Commander Soraya. Leo looked around at the faces of the Velari, who were watching him intently. Some seemed pleased, others uncertain, but all of them had the same serious expression. It was clear this was no small event for them. This was a declaration of something much bigger than he could fully understand. You're serious about this, aren't you? Leo said, his voice barely above a whisper. You really believe that I'm supposed to fight for you? For your people? Soraya's gaze softened as she stepped closer. The prophecy speaks of a human who will stand with us when we need him most. That is you, Leo. The bond was not a choice, but you have power in it, even if you don't understand it yet. Leo shook his head. I'm not a fighter. I'm just a mechanic. I don't know how to fight, and I sure as hell didn't sign up to be anyone's warrior. The elder raised a hand, silencing the room. You do not need to fight alone, but the bond must be honored. It is a symbol of unity between our two species. As Leo looked down at the ring, he couldn't help but wonder what kind of power it really held. The warmth he felt earlier had been strange, almost as though something deep inside of him had awakened. Was this what they meant by the prophecy? Before he could say anything else, the elder spoke again, her voice full of finality. The ceremony is complete. The Velari people now recognize the bond. Leo Walker, you are now one of us. Soraya stepped forward, her voice quiet but steady. You will have time to understand. In time, you will know what you are meant to do. But for now, we must prepare for what is to come. Leo didn't say anything more. He was too overwhelmed, too confused. All he knew was that the world he had known, the simple life of a mechanic on Earth, was gone. Now he was part of something much bigger, something that might change the course of history. As the Velari Council slowly filed out of the hall, leaving Leo and Soraya standing alone in the center, Leo took a deep breath. He had no idea what the future held, but he knew one thing. It was going to be nothing like he expected. The ceremony was over, but Leo couldn't shake the feeling that his life had just taken a sharp turn into chaos. As the crowd of Velari warriors and council members dispersed, he found himself alone with Soraya in the grand hall. The soft echo of footsteps on the stone floor was the only sound in the otherwise quiet space. I didn't sign up for this, Leo muttered under his breath, rubbing his forehead. I'm not a hero. I'm just a guy who fixes things. Soraya, standing at a distance, gave him a soft look but didn't approach. You don't have to be a hero, Leo. You're something more now, something that is tied to this world in ways you don't yet understand. Leo's frustration boiled over. You keep saying that. You keep telling me I'm important, but you haven't explained why. Why me? Why the ring? Why now? The quiet hum of the room was replaced by the distant sound of heavy footsteps. Leo turned to see one of the Velari warriors approaching. His posture was stiff, and his eyes locked on Leo with an unsettling intensity. Commander Soraya, the warrior said, bowing slightly to her, though his gaze never left Leo. There are concerns. The Council has not fully accepted the human's role in this bond. There are those who wish to reconsider. Soraya's eyes narrowed. I am the commander. What I have chosen stands. The warrior's expression faltered, but he quickly recovered. Forgive me, Commander, but the elders do not share your conviction. Some believe this union is a mistake, one that will weaken the Velari. Leo felt his heart race. So not everyone is on board with this. Soraya turned to face him fully, her eyes filled with determination. No, some are skeptical. The Velari have lived for centuries without needing the help of outsiders. They are proud of their strength. To bond with a human, especially one from Earth, shakes them. Leo felt his hands tighten into fists. So, what happens now? Am I just supposed to sit around while your people argue about me? This is crazy. I didn't ask for any of this. Soraya's expression softened. You don't need to fight this battle, Leo. You must trust that I will protect you. The ring connects us. It will keep you safe. But despite her words, Leo couldn't help but feel uneasy. He didn't know how, but he sensed that this bond was far more complicated than either of them let on. If the council wasn't fully behind it, who else would be? I need to know more, Leo said, his voice quiet but firm. About the prophecy, about the bond, about what's really going on here. I'm not just going to stand here and be a pawn in your politics. Soraya looked at him for a long moment, as if measuring his resolve. Finally, she spoke. The prophecy was foretold long before I was born. It speaks of a time when the Vellari would face a great threat, one they could not overcome alone. The human you are connected to, the one who bears the bond, would come to our aid. Leo's eyes widened. So, this isn't just about me being some sort of symbol. I'm actually supposed to help fight. Soraya nodded, her gaze serious. Yes, but the true purpose of the bond is not clear yet. The elders believe that the human who bonds with a Vellari warrior will become more than just a partner. They will become an equal. Together, they will fight side by side. And only then will the true nature of the bond reveal itself. Leo took a deep breath. And the enemies you're talking about, who are they? Who are we fighting? Soraya's expression darkened. We face a species called the Drethon, a cruel and powerful race who have been waging war across the galaxy for centuries. They are relentless, and they see us as weak, but they don't know what the bond can do. They don't know about you. Leo felt a shiver run down his spine. So, they're coming here. Soraya nodded, her eyes hard. Yes, and the Vellari, though strong, are divided. Our strength lies not in numbers, but in unity. And you, Leo, are now a part of that unity. Leo looked down at the ring again, its soft glow pulsing against his skin. He had no idea what kind of power it held, but he could feel it. Deep within him, a connection. Oh wait, something inside him was changing. Was it the bond? Or was it just the fear of what was to come? You don't have to fight right now, Soraya said, her voice softer. But you must prepare. The Drethon will not wait, and the Vellari Council will soon decide if we stand together or fall apart. Leo nodded slowly. The weight of her words sank in. He didn't know how he would help, but it seemed he didn't have much of a choice. As they turned to leave the hall, Soraya's voice broke the silence. There are others who will come to challenge you, Leo. They will test the strength of the bond. Not everyone will accept it, but you must remain true to it. Leo clenched his fists again. I don't even know what I'm supposed to do. I'm not a warrior. I'm just a guy who fixes things. How can I help? Soraya looked at him, her eyes filled with understanding. You will find your way, Leo. I believe in you. But despite her words, Leo couldn't shake the feeling that something darker was coming. And whatever it was more dangerous than he could possibly imagine. Leo had no idea what he was getting himself into when Soraya led him down long, winding corridors, deep within the heart of the Vellari city. The stone walls were cold to the touch, and the faint hum of the city echoed in the distance, creating a strange tension in the air. For a brief moment, Leo thought he might have made a mistake, agreeing to follow Soraya without fully understanding what the trial of unity truly meant. They had arrived at a large, circular chamber, with walls made of glass-like material that shimmered in the dim light. The ceiling was open to the sky, allowing the twin suns of Velar 7 to bathe the room in golden light. The floor was marked with symbols, ancient and intricate, circling a raised platform at the center. This is it, Soraya said, her voice quiet but firm. The trial of unity. It is an ancient rite designed to test your strength, your will, and your bond with me. Leo turned to her, his brow furrowed. I don't understand. What am I supposed to do? This is all happening too fast. Soraya gave him a small, reassuring smile. The trial is meant to see if you are truly worthy of the bond. It is not a test of skill or strength alone. It is a test of heart, Leo. It will challenge you both mentally and physically. Leo hesitated. He wasn't a warrior. He was a mechanic, used to fixing engines and machines, not battling through ancient trials. But here, in this alien world, he had no choice but to face whatever came next. The doors to the chamber opened, and a group of Villari elders entered. They were dressed in ceremonial robes, their faces stern and unreadable. At the head of the group was the elder female who had spoken to Leo during the ceremony. She looked at him with a piercing gaze. "This trial," the elder began, "will determine if you are truly the one the prophecy speaks of. The bond between you and Commander Soraya must be proven. The trial will test your loyalty, your courage, and your ability to stand with us when the time comes." Leo swallowed hard. He wasn't sure if he was ready for any of this, but there was no turning back now. He looked over at Soraya, who was watching him closely, her expression calm but filled with quiet expectation. "Are you ready?" she asked softly. Leo nodded. "I don't really have a choice, do I?" Soraya smiled faintly, stepping aside to allow him to enter the center of the chamber. The platform rose beneath his feet, lifting him higher until he stood alone, facing the gathered elders. The elder female spoke again, her voice echoing throughout the room. "You will face 3 challenges. The first will test your mind, the second your strength, and the third will test your connection to the Villari." Leo's heart raced. He wasn't sure what to expect, but he knew one thing for sure: this wasn't going to be easy. The first challenge began almost immediately. The floor beneath him shifted, and the symbols on the ground began to glow. Strange lights filled the air, and Leo felt a pressure in his mind. His thoughts became muddled, as if 1,000 voices were whispering at once. It was like being inside a machine that was broken. Parts of his own thoughts collided with foreign ones, threatening to overwhelm him. "This is the trial of the mind," the elder said. "You must focus. Clear your mind and block out the noise." Leo's head throbbed. The voices grew louder, the pressure unbearable. But then he remembered what Soraya had said. This trial wasn't about fighting. It was about heart. It was about trust. He closed his eyes, taking a deep breath, and focused on the quiet steadiness of his own thoughts. Slowly, the noise began to fade. The pressure lifted. His mind was his again. The chamber fell silent, and the symbols on the floor dimmed. "Well done, human," the elder said. "The trial of the mind is past." Leo exhaled in relief, but his heart was still racing. He hadn't expected the first test to be so intense. He turned to Soraya, who nodded in approval, her face showing a mixture of pride and concern. The next challenge came swiftly. The ground beneath Leo's feet cracked open, and from the cracks emerged a series of large, stone-like creatures, their bodies covered in jagged edges and glowing eyes. They weren't human, but they looked dangerous. "This is the trial of strength," the elder continued. "You must defeat the creatures to prove your worth." Leo's breath hitched. He didn't have any weapons, no training. How could he fight these things? But he didn't have a choice. He took a step forward, trying to steady his racing heart. He could see the creatures closing in on him, their glowing eyes watching him with a predatory hunger. Just as one of the creatures lunged at him, Leo ducked and dodged to the side, his mind racing for a solution. It was then that the ring on his finger flared up, and he felt a surge of energy. For the first time since the crash, he felt strong, not physically, but mentally. The bond with Soraya, the ring, it all connected. With newfound clarity, Leo grabbed a piece of broken stone from the ground and used it to strike the creature, knocking it off balance. He wasn't sure how he did it, but in that moment, the creatures seemed to hesitate, almost as if they understood that he wasn't entirely powerless. One by one, the creatures fell, defeated by Leo's quick thinking and the power of the bond. He wasn't fighting alone. He could feel Soraya's presence with him, guiding him, protecting him. When the last creature collapsed, The ground beneath him shifted again, and the challenge was over. "The trial of strength is past," the elder said, her voice more approving this time. Leo stood panting, his hands trembling, but he felt a strange sense of pride. He had done it. He had fought, and won. The final challenge was the hardest of all. A deep silence fell over the chamber as Leo stood, awaiting his next test. Soraya stepped forward, her face unreadable. "This is the trial of connection," the elder intoned. "You will face the darkest part of yourself. The bond between you and Soraya will be tested. Only when you are truly united will you pass." Leo looked at Soraya, unsure of what this last challenge would bring. But he was ready. He had to be. The floor beneath him shifted again, and suddenly, he was no longer standing in the chamber. He was in a dark, desolate place. The air was cold, and shadows danced around him. He turned to Soraya. "What is this place?" "This is the heart of the bond," Soraya said, her voice distant, like it was coming from everywhere at once. "You must face the truth of what the bond means. Only then can you understand it." Leo's heart pounded. He had no idea what to expect, but he knew that if he wanted to survive, he had to face whatever came next. Leo felt a chill run down his spine as the shadowy landscape around him seemed to grow darker, deeper. He turned to Soraya, but her form had become distant, like a faint figure in the fog. Her voice echoed through the darkness, but it sounded far away, almost unreachable. "Leo," her voice called out, strong yet full of sorrow. "This is where we face our fears. You must understand the bond we share. You must understand what it means, or we will both fail." He tried to speak, but his mouth felt dry, and no words came out. It was like being trapped in a dream, the kind where every movement felt too slow, too heavy. He looked around, trying to see something, anything, but there was nothing but endless blackness stretching out in every direction. "I didn't ask for this," Leo said out loud, the words coming out shaky. "I didn't ask for any of this. I just wanted to survive and go home." A gust of wind swept through the fog, and the air became colder. For a brief moment, Leo saw a flicker of light. In the distance, a figure appeared, a reflection of himself. It was him, but not him. His face was twisted in anger, fear, and confusion. This was a version of himself he didn't recognize, a person full of doubt and regret, a person who had been broken. As the figure stepped forward, Leo took a step back. "What is this? What do you want from me?" The shadowed version of himself grinned, but there was nothing friendly about it. "You think you're ready for this, human. You think you can stand beside Soraya and her people. You're nothing but a tool to them, just like the ring. They'll use you and toss you aside when they're done." Leo's heart raced. His thoughts turned to Earth, the life he had left behind. He wasn't a soldier, not even close. He was just a mechanic. How could he help these people? He wasn't trained for battle. He wasn't even sure if he believed in the prophecy. Everything was moving too fast. "You're weak," the shadow Leo mocked. "You're not cut out for this. You're a mistake. The Velari don't need you. You'll fail. And when you do, they'll leave you behind, just like everyone else." Leo clenched his fists. "That's not true. I'm not a mistake. I'm here because of the ring. I'm here because of the bond. I have a purpose." The shadow scoffed. "Purpose? What purpose? You don't even know what you're fighting for. You're being pulled into a war you don't understand." Leo felt the weight of the shadow's words press down on him. What if it was true? What if he was nothing more than a pawn in a game he didn't even know how to play? A shadow version of Leo stepped closer. "You think Soraya cares about you. She's using you, just like everyone else. You're just a tool in her hands. And when this is over, you'll be forgotten." Leo took a deep breath, trying to shake off the fear. The shadow wasn't real. It was just his doubt, his fear. He wasn't going to let it control him. Not anymore. "No," Leo said, his voice steady. "I'm not weak, and I'm not a tool. I'm not here to be used by anyone. I'm here to help because I chose to. I'm not backing down." With those words, the shadow began to melt away, fading into the mist as quickly as it had appeared. Leo stood alone, his chest heaving as the last of the darkness lifted. For the first time, he felt like he was truly himself again, not just a mechanic from Earth, but a person with a choice, with a purpose. The fog cleared, and Leo was back in the chamber, standing on the platform in front of Soraya. Her eyes were focused on him, and she stepped forward, her expression filled with pride. "You have faced yourself, Leo," she said softly. "You have conquered your doubts, and now the bond is truly yours." Leo looked at the ring on his finger. It no longer felt foreign or uncomfortable. It felt like a part of him, like it had always been there, waiting for him to understand its true purpose. He didn't know exactly what was to come, but he knew one thing for certain. He wasn't going to run from it. He wasn't going to be afraid anymore. Soraya placed a hand on his shoulder. "You have passed the trial. You have proven yourself. The Velari will stand with you. We will face the storm together." Just as her words settled in the air, a loud rumble shook the ground beneath them. The entire chamber trembled, and Leo instinctively reached out to steady himself. The air was thick with tension, and a low, thunderous sound echoed from beyond the walls. Soraya's expression hardened. "The Drethon have arrived," she said, her voice filled with determination. "The war is upon us." Leo's heart skipped a beat. This was it. The moment he had been preparing for, whether he was ready or not. The bond with Soraya had awakened something in him, something powerful. But was it enough to face the Drethon? Would it be enough to protect the Velari and himself? "I'm ready," Leo said, his voice filled with resolve. "Let's fight." Soraya nodded, her eyes gleaming with pride. "Then let's go, Leo. The storm is here, but we will face it together." As the chamber doors opened, Leo stepped forward with Soraya by his side. The future was uncertain, and the battle ahead was daunting, but Leo no longer felt alone. The bond had given him a purpose, and he would fight for that purpose, no matter what came next. The doors to the chamber opened with a low hum, revealing the vast expanse of the Velari battlefield outside. The ground trembled beneath Leo's feet as the echoes of distant explosions rumbled through the air. The sky was dark, clouds swirling ominously, and the twin suns had been blotted out by smoke from the ongoing conflict. Soraya stood at Leo's side, her posture tall and commanding, her eyes fixed on the horizon. The bond between them pulsed with energy, the ring on Leo's finger warm and steady. For the first time since arriving on Velar 7, he didn't feel out of place. He wasn't just a human in an alien world anymore. He was a part of something much bigger. Leo turned to her, his heart racing. "What's the plan?" Soraya didn't look at him, but her voice was steady and confident. "We fight. The Drethon won't stop until they have our planet. We must defend it." Leo nodded, taking a deep breath. He wasn't a soldier, but he knew what he had to do. This wasn't just about him anymore. It was about standing by Soraya and the Velari, defending the home they had just begun to protect. The bond between them wasn't just symbolic, it was real, and Leo could feel the strength of it building inside him. The ground beneath them shook again, and this time, the sound of heavy footsteps could be heard approaching from the distance. Leo's heart leaped in his chest as a massive Drethon warship appeared on the horizon. It was enormous, dark and menacing, its surface covered in sharp, jagged edges like the body of some great beast. Soraya turned to him, her eyes narrowing. "The Drethon are here. The battle begins now." Before Leo could respond, a Velari warrior approached them, his face stern. "Commander Soraya, the enemy is almost upon us. The Council has prepared a defense, but we need you on the front lines." Soraya nodded without hesitation. "Lead the way." Leo followed her as they made their way toward the heart of the Velari defenses. The Velari warriors were already in position, their armor gleaming in the dim light, weapons drawn. Leo had never seen anything like it. The Velari were strong, proud, and ready to fight. But Leo knew that without the bond, they might have already lost. He didn't understand it fully, but the power he felt from the ring, the connection to Soraya, was real. He wasn't going to let her down. When they reached the front lines, Leo found himself standing alongside Soraya and the Velari commanders. The Drethon ship loomed closer, its engines roaring with power. On the ground below, Drethon soldiers, hulking, armored figures, began to descend, their massive weapons raised as they charged forward. Soraya glanced at Leo, her voice low. "Stay close. The bond will guide you." Leo nodded, feeling a rush of energy course through him. The ring on his finger pulsed with a faint light, and for a moment, he could feel Soraya's presence in his mind, strong, steady, and unwavering. The battle began with a deafening roar. The Velari warriors rushed forward, charging into the Drethon forces with fierce determination. Leo hesitated for a brief moment, unsure of what to do. But then, the ring flared up again, and Leo felt an overwhelming surge of power. He wasn't just standing by anymore. He was part of this fight. Without thinking, Leo ran forward, his body moving faster than he thought possible. A Drethon soldier lunged at him, swinging a massive blade, but Leo ducked and rolled to the side, grabbing a discarded weapon from the ground. It was a long, jagged spear, and for a moment, he felt a strange connection to it, like it was an extension of his own body. With a swift motion, Leo swung the spear, catching the Drethon soldier off guard and knocking him back. The creature roared in anger, but Leo was already on the move, using his newfound strength and agility to strike again. The bond between him and Soraya wasn't just physical, it was mental too. He could feel her guiding him, her presence urging him forward. The battle raged on, the air thick with smoke and the sounds of clashing weapons. The Drethon soldiers were fierce, but the Velari warriors fought with a passion that Leo had never seen before. He was amazed at how they moved as one, like a single, unstoppable force. And through it all, the bond between him and Soraya kept him focused. He wasn't alone in this fight. As the battle pressed on, Leo found himself fighting side by side with Soraya. She moved with grace and precision, cutting through the Drethon forces with ease. Leo could see the power and strength in her, but he also saw the burden she carried. She wasn't just a commander. She was a leader, someone who cared deeply for her people and their future. After what felt like hours, the Drethon forces began to retreat, their warship exploding in a fiery ball of light as the Velari fleet launched a final strike. The battlefield fell silent, the only sound the heavy breathing of the warriors who had fought with everything they had. Leo stood beside Soraya, his body covered in dirt and sweat, his heart still racing. The battle was over, but the cost had been high. There were casualties on both sides, and many Velari warriors lay wounded or fallen. Soraya turned to him, her expression softening as she placed a hand on his shoulder. "You fought well, Leo. You've proven yourself to the Velari." Leo shook his head, still catching his breath. "I didn't do it alone. You were there with me, guiding me." Soraya smiled, a faint, proud smile. "And you have proven that you are more than just a human. You are a part of us now, Leo. The bond is real, and you too are mine." Leo met her gaze, his heart swelling with emotion. For the first time, he understood what she meant. He wasn't just a tool or a pawn. He was a partner. He was a warrior. He was part of the Velari people, and he was ready to fight for them, just as they had fought for him. "I'm yours too," Leo said, his voice steady. And with that, the bond between them was complete.